Hello, and we are back
in another episode of Israel Unleashed.
And the good thing, and I did a video yesterday with Solo. Elliot's back today, so that's a good thing. Welcome back. Nice to see you.
Thank you for
We
waiting.
wish him the best of luck and good on his trails and travels. And today we're going to talk about
Freedom of choice.
freedom of choice. And so, what do you have to say about this subject?
Well, every day God gives us plenty of situations to choose from, and He expecting us to do the right choice. And if we put a goal in front of our eyes, how to see the world of choices, and to imagine how God's expecting us to do the right choice. Hopefully, we will someday we will get to do the right choices, starting from this particular moment.
Let me ask you a question. So,
Yes.
the Messiah, the Mashiach comes. Do you
Yes.
think you still have freedom of choice after this moment?
Well, I learned that the bad habits, we will lose them after his arriving, but the mankind will have not equal possibilities, because everybody gained the good behavior is different from a person to another according to their sins and good deeds. It will be not the same.
So basically,
So-
you lose your freedom of.
I believe in some way you lose it, but not till the end. Because if you lose it completely, you not like a human being, you're like an angel.
Right.
This is what the angels don't have. They don't have the freedom of choice, but people do have it. I think it will be more limited. Let's say it like that.
Okay.
Because today you have the possibility to hate the Jews, to hate other people, to act against them. After arrival of Messiah, you will lose this choice. You will lose.
That will cease to exist, then, basically. That's a good thing. I'm not going to complain. A better world would be a great blessing.
But actually, if you have a choice between do right thing and another right thing, it's also choice. You know,
Right.
you can pick something, but it will be worse than the other thing. In spite that those two things are good.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's funny. I mean, freedom of choice is, I mean, it's a God's gift that He gives you. He doesn't, I guess He expects things from you, obviously.
Of course.
But, I mean, you have the right to do right. You have the right to do wrong, and you have the right to fix things if you do all that. You know what I'm saying? Which is another blessing and stuff like that. But I don't think, honestly, people understand the whole concept and meaning behind freedom of choice. You know what I'm saying? I think people think that sometimes that they can do bad, that something of a higher power is not looking at them, and they're going to be clean and good to go from there. You know what I mean? Like they don't realize sometimes that there is a higher power watching them and judging them for the actions that they actually do. But there are also people who do good things that the higher power is watching, and He takes into account, and He writes it down like what we call the book of life, right?
But so it's a part of being a believer.
That is true. Because not everyone's a believer, but I mean, it's a shame that they aren't, because
You know, I
it's
heard.
conflict with themselves, if you
It
ask me.
reminds me a story that I learned when I was a little guy in Russia.
Yeah.
I heard that one story. One time a thief asked for another man to look after him if somebody is coming,
Okay.
and he started to go towards his towards his goal. And the other man calls him, danger! He's coming. Who's coming? Nobody. And he did it again and again. After some couple of times, the thief asks him, who is coming? Who is watching? He's thinking, God is watching all the time.
That is true.
So you actually don't have to have cameras in order to be watched. Where I watched. The more a person understands he's being watched, every his step is the level of his confidence and belief he has. righteous people has more of this feeling.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, so I read a couple of days ago about a story about the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov, for anybody who doesn't know, he started the Hasidic movement in Europe.
Yes, yes.
The way that you dress now and stuff is from this movement.
You can say that. Yes.
And this is where Hasidim comes from and stuff like that. Before that, Judaism, people studied and went to temple and whatever, and were not so together like they were as they are now, I guess. You know, I mean, it was like a kind of a different way of life in a way.
Okay.
And there was a student that came to him and said that, you know, I want to, you know, I guess it was close to, like at the time in the story, that it was close to, I think, it was close to Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. And the student asked the Baal Shem Tov, he said he wants to see Elijah, the prophet. And he said that if you go to this one house in this certain edge of town, in like the town of Mintz, you will see the prophet Elijah come and you know, he will greet you and stuff like that. So you go to this house, sit in front of the door and listen, and then after a while knock on the door and someone will let you in and stuff like that. So the guy prepares himself before Shabbat. He shows up like an hour or two before the sundown when Shabbat starts and whatever. And he expects to see the prophet Elijah. So he waits and he listens and he hears the family inside and they're arguing, and the woman, they're telling the mother that they're hungry and you know, they need to eat. We haven't eaten in days and whatever. So the guy hears this, and the Baal Shem told him to bring food with him and stuff like that for Shabbat, because you need to eat on Shabbat, and a family sits together on Shabbat. So he knocked on the door. He met the family. He told the woman, "I'm here to meet the prophet," and whatever. And she invited him in and stuff like that. So he had Shabbat at this woman's house, and you know, he gave the kids food after they haven't eaten and all this stuff, and gave them clothing and whatever the Baal Shem told them to bring. And then like, you know, after the Shabbat, he left. He went home, and he went back to the Baal Shem Tov, and he said, "I didn't see the prophet Elijah," and stuff like that. And he goes, "I really want to see him. I really want to meet him, and I think it's a great like mitzvah and a good thing to do." And the Baal Shem Tov told him to go back and do the same thing and bring food, bring clothing, whatever you need, and stuff like that. And the guy went back again, and he came and left, or he came to the house or whatever, knocked on the door, and he met the family again and whatever, and he told him, "I'm here to meet the prophet again," and like that. And she invites him in, and it was right before Yom Kippur, okay? So it's like the holiest holiday. So before Yom Kippur, you need to eat before before the fast. And so she's saying to the kids that, you know, now you have the clothing and now you have food, and it's like the prophet Elijah has come and he saved you, and stuff like that. And so it wasn't till the second time that the guy came and he found out the meaning of the story, which I thought was amazing, because it was a nice story, you know. I mean, because you have stories like this, you know, where people want to do things and don't realize they do it, and then there's a meaning behind it until after they do it. So
the profound meaning of simple things.
Exactly. So it was like in the end, basically the kids looked at him as he was the prophet. He was the prophet Elijah. He was bringing them food. He was bringing them clothing and stuff they needed to survive. You know what I'm saying? So he wanted to do he didn't realize that he wanted to do a mitzvah. He wanted to meet something, but the fact that the Baal Shem Tov had a mitzvah in mind for him to do and stuff like that, and obviously this is the best way for him to meet who he wants to meet, but obviously he realizes he has that in him, you know what I'm saying? That he's definitely a prophet for bringing what he needed to bring and do what he needed to do. And the moral of the story was, I thought it was a beautiful thing, because, you know, these are actual stories that have happened to people in the past and whatever, but I don't know how old the story is, but
it's like 300 years.
Something like that. But
yes,
the fact that, like, you know, that he wanted that and he didn't realize what kind of goal he was achieving, which made it beautiful and stuff like that. But, you know, I don't know, maybe it's a little drifting away from free will, and I thought I'd share that. But honestly, you know, he didn't, in a way, to boil down that story, he didn't really have to go to do that and stuff like that. But he had in his heart set that he wanted to go meet this prophet of Judaism and stuff like that. But to come to find out that he himself was a prophet for bringing what he needed to bring and care for somebody who needed help more than ever, because they had nothing, and especially before holidays. Because holidays, it's important to have food and clothing and stuff ready for the to prepare yourself and stuff like that. But the honestly, to do free will of charity and stuff like that and to help people that you don't even know. I mean, this guy didn't know these people. The rabbi sent them to these people, but he didn't know who they were, and he didn't know their story and what their situation was until he actually got them. And then, it took him 2 times to come to realize the moral of the story and stuff like that. But I mean, he had a reality.
He had to participate in some things he doesn't understand.
Exactly. But the funny thing is, he actually had his own family. He was married, and his wife. He had to ask his wife for that. Can I go? And I need to do this. The Baal Shem Tov is sending me to do this.
Yes.
At the time, he didn't know what he was doing. But I mean, eventually, he knew what he was doing. But the fact that he had to ask his wife, and he had to prepare himself and get things ready, especially before such major holidays, is a major thing. I mean, yeah, that's a major mitzvah and stuff like that, and it's a blessing that he was able to help people that needed it when they needed it. You know what I'm saying? The fact that the Baal Shem Tov, wasn't even in the city and he sent this guy to this city is an amazing part of the story and stuff like that. But free will is important, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you're doing stuff like that to people. It's a beautiful thing and stuff like that. But, free will, you have the right to do whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, you want to go jump off a mountain tomorrow and stuff like that. You want to go out and learn something new or quit your job and make another job. I mean, you have that's your option. You could do whatever you want with it. You know what I mean? This is all you. This is the gift that God has given you, and
to be yourself,
to be yourself, and choose to be yourself. But on the other hand, there's a lesson to be learned from this, because you realize that, He might give you free will and be able to do things that you want to do and stuff like that. But I mean, honestly, He expects you to do good things.
It's a responsibility
And have responsibility for things. I mean, obviously, you see, a lot of people don't have that and stuff like that. But I mean, we're human. We need to learn. You know what I'm saying? And learning is a major thing.
Yes.
But, I've even seen people who are criminals and done bad things in their life, turn their life around and change their life for the best.
Yes, of course.
I mean, they realize that, I've done bad things, I've done things that hurt people and stuff like that, and they realize that, they come to a moment of clarity or reality that, I've done bad and I need to change myself,
In some moment, they understand, some of them, who God loves especially, that it's not me against the law.
Right.
It's between me and Him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
I mean, it's all about you, you know what I'm saying?
It's all about you.
I mean, we all have to work together in a way, but we all have our own individual, job that we need to, do for ourselves. Yes, we all need to work as a collective and be better people all together and work as one and be as one and whatever, but I mean, your job is, you have one job for yourself to do for yourself first, and that's important. You know what I mean? And sometimes, as you see, that's a big task, you know what I mean? Sometimes that's not an easy, because a lot of times you battle with yourself. It's like I said, I've seen people that I know that have done bad things and are criminals and whatever, and they turned around and changed their way, but they came to a moment of realization that, this isn't getting me where I need to go, and they had conflict with themselves, and not only they had conflicts with themselves, they had bad home life, or not. They didn't have somebody to stand over them and guide them and stuff like that, and it took from their own free will to guide themselves, to educate themselves, which is important, because if you can't come to that moment where you have that frame of thought or whatever, it's gonna take a lot longer to get there. You know what I mean? Some people get things early in life, and some people
as much as
late.
it takes, it's okay, because we're all different, and the matter of when we don't understand things and it taking us time, it's okay. It's part of the process, the much deeper you have to go. This is the kind of situation you have to stand.
I mean, it's like when you go to school, you know what I'm saying? You have some class where the students were they get things like this, you know what
Yes,
I'm saying? And,
yes.
and it's quick for them, they got no problems. Then you have other students, it takes longer, you know what I'm saying? It's
A
almost
lot
it's
longer.
almost the same thing. Some people you might have to explain something, they get it. Some people you can explain it, they're like light deer in headlights, they have no idea.
But actually, people
You know what I mean? But I
who
mean,
went
eventually
to,
they get it. You know what I mean?
but what I want to say that the more righteous people is the more longer his way was, you know.
Right.
Because if you get it fast, it's not so hard.
No.
And he doesn't appreciate it.
That's true.
The benefits he's got from
It's important to appreciate it, man. You know, I think.
But the longer way you do from being a criminal to being a good person, it's like it's a real respect to this person.
That's true. That is true.
From
mean,
being
if you can-
from abusing a society to getting a society what society needs,
True.
it's a long way. It's a real story.
No, but sometimes you have people who lash out. They lash out on like society or the people around them and stuff like that. You know, I mean, I want to say 100% that they do that on purpose. There's a reason why they do this. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
I mean, people don't just do things for no reason. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason behind
Behind every person there is a trauma.
everything. Yeah.
It's went through, and he has no other way but to discover this trauma and face it, and overcome those things and become something better.
That's true. I mean, me personally, I've had trauma in my life and problems with certain things, and I don't want to say my home life was perfect because it wasn't. No one's home life is perfect. You know, your parents sometimes can be very hard on you, and they can lead you in a certain direction sometimes that you don't understand, because they don't explain it to you. They just forcefully send you in this direction. You know. But after a while, you understand why they put you in this position, why they did this to you, because they were doing it out of love, and this is what they thought you needed. You know what I mean? So, like, in the end, you have an understanding, but not all the time in the beginning you have. And that sometimes molds you into the person that you need to be, which is a good thing and stuff like that. But
Even if the parent abuses his child, let's
Right.
say it like that.
yeah,
When child understands finally that his parent was also a fruit of abuse, he has the power to forgive
right.
and to start to overcome his trauma. And it's a part of this is the real choice a person has to do. No, not matter how much time it will take. It will,
Some years back, I was, I like to listen to a lot of music sometimes, and so I listened to this song called "Stairway to Heaven." You familiar with this?
yes, of course.
So there's a lyric in the song that where Robert Plant says, there's two roads you can go by,
Mhm.
and honestly, there's a good one and a bad one, and stuff, and it's something that resonated to me and it makes sense. You know what I mean? When I first heard it, I said to myself, how deep is that, man? You know what I mean? And I mean, like, it made me think about, wow, like, when you like sit like internally and think about, yourself and your life situation and who you are and what kind of choices you make, and it made me think from that moment on that, like, I'm the person that makes the choices. You know what I'm saying? I get up in the morning, I decide if I'm going to shave or if I'm not going to shave, or
Yes.
I'm going to put on shorts or jeans or in a t-shirt or a long sleeve or whatever. Everything, it boils down to everything that you do is choices and stuff. But like what made this lyric important was that, like, not only is everything that you do is your choice and stuff like that, but it's how you make these choices. You know what I mean? Which made it interesting for me, because really that's what free will is about. You know what I'm saying? You can either go this way or you can go that way, depending who you're going to be. Who do you want to be is the question. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the internal struggle with all of us. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the individual, you have individuals who want to be a certain something, and they get it at an early age and whatever. But you have some people, they don't even know who they want to be until they're later on in life. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? But like, it depends with those kind of people how much life you're going to live. You know what I mean? Because when you're searching for something and you want to be something, you're going to do all sorts of crazy things and more things than everybody else does, because you're searching to find out who you really are and what kind of road you want to be on. You know what I mean? So that's why I say that lyric stood out like more than anything, because like once I first heard it, it made such great sense, but it made me become in like deep thought to think about. You know,
It's completely our choice.
yeah, and what's the meaning behind that? You know what I'm saying? It made me, think about that big time. But it helped me understand what choice we really have in life. You know what I mean? Honestly, I think it's a blessing that God has given the act for you to follow to be whatever you want to be. Like you paint the picture, you make the movie, you be who you want to be, and I'll accept it. You know what I'm saying? And wow. That's, you can't get anything better than that. You know what I'm saying? It just depends on how you live it, but that's honestly a gift more than anything. I don't think that people ever embrace or realize, if you ask me. Sometimes what we have and who we are and stuff like that.
All of it should understand it more.
Yeah.
Let's say it like that. Even if you understand it, there are ways to improve it.
Yeah. There's always ways and room for improvement, always. But when you come to a reality of what things really are and what needs to take place with you, and then you really sit and think about it, and then you realize how mind-boggling it is to basically accept this or grasp it and hold on to it. You realize the importance of it. And that's what I think is important, and I think that's what the gift is. You know what I'm saying? Because if you have that and you realize what you have, then you realize what you're capable, or what your inner being is capable of doing, or what you're meant to be in life. And that I think I find that important too.
I agree.
You know what I mean? That's why I need to drop some knowledge on your ass. No,
Thank you.
But I just have to say thank you for free will. I'm truly blessed from it. You know what I mean? I've shared a lot of my story with you and stuff like that, and I told you I don't have regrets to anything, and I've done a lot of crazy things and stuff like that, and I realize what I've done. But the fact that I've been able to do that kind of stuff and be forgiven for it and move forward for it, and I always say that I'd like to relive it. I'd even relive it and stuff. Even the same way it was back then. You know what I mean? But the fact that I've had that moment and lived such a great life and been so happy from it and have what I have from it, that's why I feel like I'm totally blessed with this. And that's why I say I have to be thankful for free will. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have that.
You have more experience than me. Your perspective is bigger. Good that you don't have regrets. It's good.
I don't think there's anything different between you and I and stuff like that. I honestly think maybe I'm more spiritual than you and stuff. And
Maybe.
And,
It's okay.
I managed to get it.
We work in not being envy.
No, not at all. I'm just saying maybe not only am I more spiritual, but I got that at more of an early age maybe than you, because you said you found out at a certain time what it is to be this and what it, and then you became this. But as now you're like a flower, it's still evolving. You know what I'm saying? You're still growing.
Of course.
Not only like a flower, like a tree. You know what I'm saying? We're all like trees. You know what I'm saying? We're all planted and we're all growing. You know what I mean? And this is why you have the tree of life. You know what I mean? But we're all meant to be something or somebody. This is why we're given free will to make that happen. You know what I mean? Even if it's good or even if it's bad. You know what I mean? It's you are who you're meant to be, and you are who you are. And you have to thank God for that.
Thank God.
Because if He didn't give you that, then you wouldn't be that at all. You'd have to submit to a higher power and do what His bidding is, basically.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it'd be in a more stricter, kind of frame. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be able to do what you want to do.
Yes, I agree with you. I tell you more than that. The free will that we get, we have to defend it from the powers who try to get it from us, and because we want to give this great gift that you said to our children.
Sure.
In order to pass it.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that you just said that, because spiritually you have an upper world and a lower world and stuff like that, which I don't know everything. I understand that, but I don't think everybody else does. But I realize that, nowadays you have people who want to take away your free will, take away your rights, and take away your freedoms and stuff like that, and they don't think that you deserve them and you should have them. And we're living in a time frame where, free will is definitely at stake. You know, I mean, it's
Yes.
like, and you really have to battle and fight in order to keep that, man. And I see a lot of people just willing to throw that away because they don't really understand the meaning of it. They honestly take it for granted. You know what I mean?
Yes, unfortunately. Also want to tell to those people that having a choice in life, it's much more important than having life itself.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
Because when you want to defend life, you also want to defend the life with the meaning. The life without meaning, without values, it's not a real life. It's the life of an animal. So I'm calling to you, I'm calling you, all our viewers, try to think about the things we said, and trying to understand the meaning of living with values, and try to defend our freedom of choice as people, in order that we all can live the full life, as full as we can.
That's true. I mean, it's funny, you know, we talk about values and stuff, and like these are things that you get from your parents. You know what I'm saying? Your parents are the ones who are supposed to teach you how
Yes.
to live, how to act, and how to
Yes.
be, and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, I always tell my children this, that like, you know, the most memorable part of your life
It's what
is
parents,
when you're a child.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because as a child, you don't really have any responsibility, and you don't really care about a lot of stuff, and you're learning constantly.
You
and-
only have the influence from
Yeah.
your parents.
or your surroundings and stuff like
Yes,
that, or whatever.
yes.
But I mean, like, you know, this is what molds you into.
You're only receiving.
You're receiving definitely, but this is what molds you into be who you need to be.
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, like, you know, you and me are at our age. I mean, it's like we're robots. We get up, we go to work, and take care of the family, and whatever spare time we have on ourselves, we work on ourselves. But I mean, you don't have that much time as you used to when you were a child. You know what I mean? I mean, you're living the values that you're like, you know, your parents have given you, and like, you know, you're obviously taking on some other values that you learned along the way. A majority of your values have come from your family and your family. I mean, your parents. You know what I mean? And this is what makes you into who you are as you grow up. I mean, that's also another fascinating thing sometimes. You know?
Yes, yes. Well, the only thing we can learn from it is to treat our children the better,
Right.
because we cannot go back in time and tell our parents
Now,
to,
once you pass something, it's
or
over.
blame them now for not treating us the right way. It's also a mistake.
That's true. I mean, honestly, I mean, your parents aren't perfect, you know what I'm saying? And you're not perfect. You can't really blame them, you know? They were given the tools they needed, and they did what they knew and what they were capable of doing at the time, and that was their mission, and, you know, you can't tell,
They
you,
did it
you,
somehow.
can't really judge if they passed or they didn't pass, you know what I'm saying?
Things that they realize or didn't realize, it's not in your, you know,
I mean, honestly,
not in your control.
you have children now, you can only give them so much, you know what I mean?
That's the only choice that's part of this gift, that you have only this right moment, the real moment, this now moment to influence. That's it.
That's true.
There is no tomorrow. There is no yesterday.
I mean, you know, it's funny. I personally think that, like, you know, I mean, your life's written, like, in the stars or in the, you know.
It's written somewhere.
I mean, yeah. I mean, God, personally, in my opinion, already knows what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, when you're going to do it, and whatever, before you even do it, or even you know you're going to do it. He knows everything from the time of your beginning until your end, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And, you know, it doesn't matter even what your parents give you or don't give you. You're going to be the person he wants you to be regardless. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously you have to learn and prepare yourself and master this kind of situation so you can be that, obviously. Because, you know, you come in like empty, you're not going to, you know, you're going to be like you just said, like an animal. You know what I mean? You're not going to have the values and the
Yes.
you know, that you have that you needed.
Actually, I have much of examples of people who's living like that. Try to talk to them more profoundly,
Right.
and I discover it doesn't interest them. If it's not soccer or politics, it's nothing to them. Or shopping, nothing about it.
I can honestly answer this.
You understand?
I can understand that, but you know, I've actually gone through certain things where, like, I had the same moment where I didn't understand something or whatever, but there was a time that it showed itself where I did have an understanding, and at that time, I was paying attention. You know what I mean? I guess it depends on the individual. Sometimes you have individuals who are paying attention and they are willing to accept, because everything you have is in front of you.
Yes.
And all you gotta do is reach out and grab it, you know what I'm saying? But the problem is, like, you don't reach out and grab it until you're ready to grab it, you know what I mean? Or until when you need it, you know what I'm saying? So psychologically, when you have something, sometimes you talk to certain people, they're not obviously ready to hear what you're ready to tell them, you know what I mean?
Most of the times they are not ready.
I mean, the funny thing, you give it, it's
And
like, you say something to somebody and you leave a spark.
Yes.
But the
Yes.
funny thing is that if they heard you, eventually when the time does come and they are ready to face something,
Well, it's a process.
that spark opens that door, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes. How to do it? It's really an art. How to show people the right way. Most of the time they are not ready to hear.
No. I mean, are we always ready to hear things?
I agree.
You
Me
know.
also not.
Sure.
When it comes to serious things.
I mean, technically, when you tell something to somebody, why do you tell them? You tell them out of love, you know? You tell them because you care, or you want to lift them up, or you want to do something.
There is some things that can disturb those things that you're telling. You're talking about love, but sometimes you, instead of solving your own problems, you're making yourself like a savior to the person you're advising to. Understand?
I mean,
It's part of escaping from your own life. You understand?
That's true.
Like blaming someone and then you're lifting above him, and it's
Well, you know,
and the person, when you show it, when you tell to this person how to solve his problems, you kind of escape it from your problems, and it feels that it doesn't accept your advices, and
I
he's
understand.
kind of right. Understand?
that's true. Well, what cracks me up kind of is that, like, thinking wise, it's easier to help somebody else than help yourself sometimes. You know what I'm saying? The hardest thing you can do is help yourself. I mean, to sit and make choices for yourself and stand up for yourself, and it takes a lot. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot of energy and a lot of discipline and a lot of understanding to be able to do some stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's not so easy sometimes to work on yourself. You know what I mean? Because you're the one that has to stare and look at yourself in the mirror. You know, you have to face the reality yourself, not them. That's
Yes.
why sometimes it's easier to say things to other people, like, because it's not so hard. You can casually say, like, you need to do this and it will help you, and whatever, and and it's just easy to say that
And
kind of
at
shit.
the end of the day, you don't understand what the society wants from you. You're helping them.
You're helping them, but, like, not all the time. I mean, like, I give advice to people. I don't know if it.
You love them, they hate you.
Yeah, exactly. No, but sometimes
That's the problem.
sometimes I give advice, but I don't know if it's right for them, or when I give advice, I'm using my, like, experience. You know what I mean? So I already went through that. So, like, I'm giving my experience. I'm not just saying something out of the air and, like, you should try to do this and, like, not. I only give advice sometimes if I have gone through it and I understand what you shouldn't do it, and shouldn't do. You know what I mean?
You think it twice before giving advice. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I mean, I don't think you should just give some advice to somebody, like, kind of like, Stom or something, like, here, just take this, you know what I'm saying?
It's hard to understand you should talk to every person.
True.
Now when I'm meeting people, when I'm meeting you, when I'm meeting another friend, all of them are not the same. And I'm like, and one of my mistakes that I'm thinking, like, I'll behave to him as I behave to the other, like in this,
Okay.
and I forgetting to making a switch between people sometimes.
Okay.
And it takes time from me to understand that I'm coming to a different person, and after a couple of minutes I understand, listen, this person doesn't like to get advice. This person likes to tell me what to do. This person wants to feel strong. This person, I have to be quiet with him. That's how it works.
I understand completely. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I mean, I give advice to some people, and they, they didn't want it. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I mean, I, honestly, I've given advice to some people, and they didn't want it. I Or you help people and they act like they want it in the end, where they don't want it at all. You know what I mean? I mean, you have situations like that. I mean,
Most of the
each individual's different. You know, I mean, you have to,
Yes,
you
yes.
have to feel the
you have to understand what this person is capable to handle with.
Sure.
So this is the
I mean, you also have to be careful what kind of advice you give to some
of
people.
course.
Because sometimes they could be detrimental and it can, it can destroy that person. You know what I mean? Or they could do something completely like something they shouldn't do.
If your advice will collapse his self-esteem, it doesn't work.
Yeah, if you're collapsing someone's self-esteem, that
Out of good intention, no,
no,
not
I
of
know.
bad.
But I mean, like I mean, like you have moments where people do that kind of stuff, and that's just like that. Like it's like a person doesn't care about that person. I'm not saying that like you, but I mean I'm just saying in a general
It
reality.
can happen to everyone. It's happened to me. It's happened to other people.
True. I've learned never listen to your wife. No, I'm just kidding.
It's okay. It's okay.
She
I
gives
will be
bad
angry
advice.
with you afterwards. Don't worry.
I know. I'm just kidding, but
Okay.
definitely it's truly a blessing to have free will. To be able to do what you need to do and what you want to do, and learning from it. And you can't ask for anything better. I think that's important, and it's the beauty of life. Honestly, I think this is what makes us and who we are. And that's what makes life so special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think God had the right intention.
Why he
And
has.
who am I to complain, right? All right.
So thank you for watching us.
Definitely. May you be blessed.
You don't want to
Yes,
sleep?
and
You want
if you
Daddy?
have comments, write
free.
us.
And
Write us. We will. I actually wanted to write you some comment, but I was afraid of my mistakes.
Okay, it's all good. I'll
You
spell check it for you, and I forgive
You forgive me,
I
but
forgive
our
you.
viewers,
No, if they don't forgive, then it's ungodly, man, right?
Okay.
Well, be well. We love you. Till next time.
Thank you.